nearly 75 years, the two countries have been strategic allies, trying to keep the Middle East stable for their own benefit. But today, the Middle East has fallen apart. It all started with oil. In 1938, a lot of it was discovered in the new country of Saudi Arabia.
For here are more proved and readily accessible reserves than in all of North and South America together.
In 1945, U.S. President Franklin Roosevelt made a deal with the Saudi king, Abdulaziz Al Saud. The Saudis would provide the U.S. with a safe, reliable source of oil, and in exchange, the U.S. would support and protect the Saudis. This was at a time
So our next speaker is Dr. Turki Faisal. Proceed.
Good afternoon, everybody, and be very happy to share with you my thoughts. To give you some background about myself, I am really good at reading the future. When these things fall, JASTA and all these things, I should be very happy. And in fact, I'm not. I was extremely sad because what I wrote, what I published, what I've been arguing privately with a very high level. So I'm not happy of what I've been warning and writing about for the last years, more than 10 years. And that's maybe one of the things that have really made me go into, go for my master and doctorate, which it took me 10 years, because I want to give more credibles to the people that I am Okay, so before we start, I think the best way forward in a relationship lies in admittingly it's all over its current incarnation. The Saudi-US relationship, unfortunately, I was trying to avoid the crash for many, many years. Unfortunately, people did not get that until they reached to where we are now. We'll go more in detail on that. Well, Saudi Arabia, they have since 1932, and they consider themselves, the Saudi, as an ally of the US, and the truth is, strong nation never ally with weak nation. They use them, they utilize them, and then when they finish with them, they drop them in the garbage. And this ally business, many Saudis, illusions, have that. And one of the biggest failures we had in Saudi Arabia for the last 70 years, that is our relationship is restricted between White House administration and the capital of Saudi Arabia, restricted to a handful of people who are doing the relationship. What's the result? Well, we all know what the result was. Saudi Arabia is the largest exporters and 7 years of cooperation. And all this ended up with just 97 senators voted all against Saudi Arabia. With all the billions of dollars we provide, with all the things we do, we end up with just that. And I'm not surprised because the ally word, that was the wrong being used. We use you, we utilize you, when we finish, we throw you. Saudi relationship, basically oil, arms sales, a little bit of food, and then social as education, sustainable agricultural development. I have to put that in, even though a little bit out of the way, but I'm at heart, I believe in the agriculture, especially social agriculture, and world and regional securities.
The US is the biggest arms dealer in the world, and Saudi Arabia is its #1 customer. For nearly 75.
Okay. Unfortunately, what's going on between Saudi Arabia and the US is the US, Americans are victims of it, the Saudis are victims of it. Bottom line, there is 0.1%. I don't know how much you believe in Obama, but what he said, that is, we have created the democracy, the capitalism with democracy. They got married, they created an economy of 1% on everything, 99% on nothing. You can see here, this is the sales of the arms. We are buying arms right and left, and what's the value for it? Is absolutely worthless. But it's the interest of the 0.1%. I was there. Carlyle, did I say it right? Carlyle Company. The Carlyle Company is one of the largest companies. We're paying President Bush, the father, $50,000 every time he mentioned the word Carlyle. So, how many times? 10 times? Okay, that's your meeting. And officially, he stopped doing that when his son, which is George Bush, the son, ran for a president. He have canceled that agreement with them. It's not under the table, it's published.
I think we usually call it the Carlyle.
Carlyle
Group.
Carlyle Group. I never could say it right. Okay. Okay. So, Saudi Arabia, United States, oil in between. And what's included in that barrels is a lot. As you can see here, how much the US, Saudi Arabia imports from 1990 to 2016. Well, we have the economic relationship, as we could say here, 1.5 billion, and this is how much trade investment we have between the US and Saudi Arabia. Student, we are the 4th largest group, I think almost 100,000 Saudi students in the US. We have 8,000 Saudi families live in Washington, D.C. alone. We have 36,000 Americans working in Saudi Arabia. In here, I believe that is the relationship, how to go forward is through social agriculture, improve the life of many, many people. And using agriculture as a tool to enhance security, alleviate poverty, and promote economic growth. Okay, now we get into about a month ago, the Bloomberg got an orders for the freedoms of right, have released a secret between Saudi Arabia and the US in 1973. President Nixon, he found out there isn't enough gold to cover all the debts of the US. So they have to free the dollars. If they free the dollars will fall down and would lose a lot of its value. So he sent his secretary in a nationwide to rule, but the really thing was, deal was do or die plan. That is when he sent Simon for Saudi Arabia. There is, don't come back to me without a deal. I'll send you all over the world, but I don't care. The real reason for his trip was to go to Saudi Arabia, and all dollars oil will be sold and quoted by dollars only, and all the surplus of your money will come to finance our treasury bills. So I ask all the times when I have in meetings, what does Saudi Arabia mean to you guys? Many people said, ally, friend, all these things. Bottom line, if Saudi Arabia decided today to sell oil and quoted it by different currency, that will destroy the dollars from its dominee. Second thing is if we stop buying treasury bill. And as what this guy here, Whitney Smith, the 117 billion make the kingdom one of the largest foreigner creditors. I think the last time I checked it, it's we are number 3. The Chinese, Japanese, Saudi Arabia. In the embargo, they trapped the Russian to invade Afghanistan, and when they invaded Afghanistan, they said, well, because they invaded Afghanistan, we would embargo the food, and Saudi Arabia, which was at the time, there was a lot of songs going on, a barrel of oil for a bushel of wheat, and Saudi Arabia have started the self-sufficient of wheat, and this is how did it start the agriculture in Saudi Arabia. Operations of Gulf Storm, we hosted nearly 500,000 people, and the US and Saudi Arabia, they are great on destroying things, but they don't know what to do with the aftermath. We built the Iran, you know, the Shah. We gave him the best technology, the American did, the best technology to do everything, and he started his 5 years plan. In the middle of it, they said, no, 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 you cannot, because you don't have, you know, the money you're getting, it's enough. So he raised the price oil so much until it reached $11. When it's reached $11, the US and Saudi Arabia, they collide together, pump more oil so the oil goes down. So we destroy basically the Shah. Then it comes the Islamic movement, which is, they really helped according to the Shah book. So the rise of the Islamic organization came. They were stupid, they want the head of the Shah. They don't want anything else. According to Bill Gates, not Bill Gates, what's his name? Gates, Minister of Secretary of State, Robert Gates. Yeah. According to Robert Gates, he was the one who was taking note with Brzezinski. We gave you everything, we'll do anything for you. They said we want the head of the Shah. And that's how it collapsed. And then we decided, okay, let's go against the war of Iran. So we went with a war with Iran, with the sectarians, and now we're paying the price. Same as we did. We went to fight the Russians. What's the best way? Let's create all these Islamic, which is, we created them in the 50s to fight Arabism and nationalism. Now we decided to build them again, and we did succeed to destroy the Iranian, and like what President Brzezinski said, you want me to apologize? 3,000 people got killed. Afghanistan got destroyed for the price of bringing the Russian Empire. You want me to apologize? You should thank me for what I did. And that is officially what he had with the magazine's interviews. I think that magazine wasn't circulated in the US. It is a French magazine. So then this military base was built, run, managed by Saudi Arabia, billions of dollars. The US is using it for free. US Congress recently passed a JASTA 97%. So everything we did for the last 30, 40 years, it just went down the tube. And that's what happened. That's what happened when you work with only with one channel. Way forward, strengthening cooperation, U.S. shared goals in regional and security trade and investment, not to serve the 1%, to serve the 99%. Saudi Arabia and U.S. cooperation in achieving United Nations Sustainable Development Goal, number 1, number 2, and number 17. They should start to work more and more on global, international interest, not the interest of 1%, in the US and in Saudi Arabia and worldwide. Has been, as I said here, it's been come only to White House, to the head of Saudi Arabia state. We don't deal with anybody else, and that is what we end up with. As we could see, that's all that's in here, history. Just a threat to limit Saudi Arabia cooperation on the national security issue, including counterterrorism and everything else. I think, personally, JASTA will be impossible to implement, but the cost and the side effect of it, it will be hellacious. With President President Trump is in power, that will make the side effect will be a lot. I'm very happy for Saudi Arabia that they got Trump, and I'm very sad for the US that they got Trump. Cooperation between Saudi Arabia and the University of Arizona will do a lot on social, and we will have a lot of impact. They have survived a lot of the problems. I don't know whether they could really survive at this time. Relations should not be taken for granted. Must be nurtured, otherwise will drift away. It's like your husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. You throw a lot of shit at each other. Pretty soon they're gonna say, it's enough, and it's gonna be. Now just close your eyes and just for a moment, if you have your way, I have my way, as for the right way, correctly way, the only way does not exist. The Philippine president, Duterte, look to the damages he have done to the US-Asia strategies. And the relationship between Philippines and the USA for many, many years is like servant and server. He got paid for everything. His economy depends on the US. But then when he put it on the table, all what I'm getting paid is $50 to $100 million. Look to the damages he has done. One of the first things the President of the United States has to do is to cure, to salvage the Philippine-US relationship. What would happen if Saudi Arabia drifted away? And I'm sure with JASTA, Saudi Arabia will drift away. Unfortunately, I was in Washington, and we have met every person you could think of who was involved with all these deals, including one guy, which is, I cannot mention his name, but he was very, very powerful. He wanted to convince me about the problem of Syria. I said, Syria? It's you and us who have destroyed Syria. It's you and us who have built ISIS. Why? Because the pipelines doesn't go from Iran to Europe. It must go from Qatar to Europe. Why? Because Saudi Arabia and the US, they thought Putin are getting strong. So what's the best way? Two ways we can cut his hand. Number one is built an oil and gas pipelines from Qatar to Europe. That would destroy the Russians' power with the gas. Then Saudi Arabia The oil price was a little bit down. Let's do what we did in the 80s. Together we destroy that market. If we pump more oil, the oil will go down just a little, not much, but just a little. That's enough to destroy the Russian. The idiots didn't think it's not $140, didn't go to 120. It went from 140 to $30. So Syria, in a very simple, and I told them that, you and us, we have actually built that team. And when President Trump said ISIS was built by Obama and Hillary Clinton, he is 100% right. They haven't built it themselves, but they have told their allies to finance it. Same as they did when, what's his name, Brzezinski came to Saudi Arabia and to Egypt, said we have to create Al-Qaeda to destroy the Russian. Did we decide it? Did we think what are we going to do after that? Unfortunately, we